CCU Orlando and Akins Counseling Center present The Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly show featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from diverse perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 42, When the Universe Says No. And now, your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome. I'm Cynthia Alice, and I'm the host of The Authentic Spiritual Journey, and we are here in 818 Studios with my very skilled producer.
Hey, I am Dave Croft. Hello, everybody. Hope you are doing okay. Happy Monday, and I hope that you are ready for an awesome week, because I know and I believe that you, yes, you right there in the gray Prius, you're going to have a great day. There's going to be somebody like,
he
somebody
can
freaked
see
out,
me.
right?
Well, it is tax day, friends. If you live in the U.S., you know what that means. Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, I am so lazy / scared of taxes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, as a sole proprietorship,
Yes,
I got
believe
a lot.
me.
I'm swimming in 1099s and so yeah.
Well,
anyway.
it's actually true for ministers too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we file the same way. Although ministers' taxes are so complicated, the IRS makes sure we have to pay somebody to do them. It would be impossible for any minister to do their own taxes and not pay thousands of dollars. But I have a wonderful organization that does it for me. So yay! I was so thrilled. I only had to pay $47 this year.
Oh my!
Praise God!
I need you to tell me your tax guy.
Yes, I will. I will. It's a great day, and we are always happy and delighted to be the first ones to say Happy Monday. And I'm just going to tell you in advance, friends, I've been doing lots of accents today, so I don't know what that means. Lots of different voices.
What does that have to do with our country shout out as we celebrate a group of listeners from the UK? Does this mean a terrible accent is incoming?
Possibly a little later. I was doing an Irish accent earlier because I just came back a few weeks ago from a conference where one of the scholars was from Ireland. And so friends in the UK, we love you, we bless you. And so much of my heritage is from that part of the world. I am English, Irish, Scottish, and a Cherokee Indian. And so anyway, we send our love and blessings to you. And there's even a home, by the way, in England, and it is called the Cecil Sharp House. And at the Cecil Sharp House, there is information about my great grandmother. Her name was Jane Gentry. We've talked about her a little bit on the show before, and she was really, really amazing. But Cecil Sharp was one of the they were called song catchers, and they went to the hills of North Carolina and those areas to collect songs. And my great grandmother Jane Gentry was interviewed. And as a matter of fact, in that movie, Songcatcher, there was a character who played my grandmother, Jane Gentry. So anyway, I have a strong heritage connection to that part of the world and love to travel. And we'll be back in England and Scotland not until 2020, but we're excited about that. So bless you as you listen. Friends, I can't tell you what it means to us that even though you are across the pond, as they say, that you are very much connected. We know in God there's no time and space. And so it is like you're right here with us in the studio, and we bless you and thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for listening, and thank you supporting us through Patreon and on YouTube. And it means the world to us and keeps us going.
Yeah, and I hope, Dave, you'll say at the end of the show how to do that, because I had somebody ask me the other day about Patreon, and I think people don't realize that this is really a kind of self-supporting endeavor.
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't get, you're not drawing a salary,
Right.
to do this. And
Nobody's paying me real big to do it,
right.
But I have some wonderful sponsors from $2 to $300 a month, and that is certainly a blessing and makes sure that the show continues. So thank you for all your support, and we're ready to get to it. Our big topic today is...
when the universe tells you no.
Yes, when the universe says no. I want to say, raise your hand if this has ever happened.
I'm raising my hand.
Hello. Yes. It has happened to all of us, young and old. It doesn't matter what your station in life, how much money you make. Sometimes the universe says no.
Yeah, and you have to, and I am still coming to grips with, and I can't remember if I've talked about this on the show, the Super Bowl. Have I? I don't know.
I don't think you did. I mean, we talked about it personally, but I don't think you talked about it on the show yet.
Should I go into it now?
Yeah, go ahead. It's a great setup for what we're talking about.
So as you may or may not know, I'm a composer for film and TV, and it's what I teach at Full Sail and all that stuff. And so we got a call about 2 weeks before the Super Bowl was going to air on CBS, and CBS says, we need a bunch of music. We really want you guys on board, and here's a bunch of reference tracks and everything. And so our entire team got busy.
Yeah.
And I put together 8 cues for the Super Bowl because CBS has, wall-to-wall coverage all Super Bowl weekend from the early morning feature stories to through the game and post-game and all of that stuff. And so I had written 8 tracks for this, and I was getting really psyched, and I could see it. I could visualize my cue, as could Shannon, visualize my music on TV, and that was kind of the quote unquote I've made it moment. This was the universe conferring upon me the rights and privileges of being successful, right?
Yes.
And Super Bowl came and went, and
Right.
none of our team, nobody from our entire team got any air. And so now, and I'm still reeling a little bit
I
from
bet. Yeah.
I was pretty sure that I heard it, and did I mishear it? Was it ego? Was it pride? Maybe it was. But what do you do with that? And right now, I wouldn't say right now, but afterwards, man, I was crazy discouraged. I was embarrassed because I had mentioned it in church, and I had mentioned it on Facebook, and Shannon had mentioned it, and so throughout the game, I even think you texted me, hey, any air yet?
Yep.
And I was like, no, not yet, but there's still hope. But then about halfway through the game, the text dried up. Nobody had seen anything on social media. Because if I got Super Bowl air,
oh yeah, it was
finna be in all caps. I was going to be yelling.
We were going to announce you. Yeah.
But it didn't happen. And so I'm really interested in today's topic because I'm still feeling the sting of feeling like I missed it.
Yeah.
And
well, I'll tell you, that was the only reason I watched the Super Bowl was to hear your music. Well, yeah, there's several interesting things about that. And one is, the interesting part too, you were asked even to present the music. And I'll just say, because I am also a musician, that the music at the Super Bowl was pretty lame. There was really nothing exciting, and the game itself, my gosh, was so slow. But I really felt like the way the fans responded was largely because it was just so much dead space. There was there was nothing exciting. There was nothing calling you back to it. It was like, okay, here's another multi-million-dollar commercial. Now we're going to watch people stand around on the field for a while.
Right. And I don't know why. I don't. And it's the not knowing that in the absence of information, your worst, you insert your worst fears into that. And I'm trying not to do that. And I feel, talking with the other composers on the team and the publisher, we're all kind of licking our wounds, kind of saying, okay, what happened? And now we're totally focused on golf and putting music in there, where we've had amazing luck.
Right, you have. You've done really well with the golf stuff.
Really well with golf music. And so that's where we've been putting our energy. But even still, even beyond the whole, why didn't my music get air? What really kind of has me a little bit sideways is feeling like I missed it, like I misinterpreted something because it felt so. And I believed, and I put I did all of what quote unquote I was supposed to, if that makes sense.
Yes. Well, and I think it's a dynamic that does need to be examined because all of us have these, I hear a lot of people say, well, I felt like I was really guided to do this. And in your case, it wasn't even just a feeling about it. You were asked, like I said, to write the music. So I think you can go ahead and breathe easy because not only were you doing what you were asked, you did it with a lot of integrity and a lot of intention, and a lot of energy. So I think what happens is the ego gets really attached to what we think it means when we receive guidance for something or we're even asked to do something and it doesn't play out. Like, I'll give you for instance, for me too, a really quick example where years ago I was asked to apply for a church. And I'm telling you, I've never not gotten a job I've applied for. I don't think. And and they asked me to apply and then I didn't get it. I was like, what in the world? You just leave yourself going, that's just so weird. But sometimes we are asked to do something, guided to do something for a reason that's completely unknown in the short term, but in the long term, it makes itself known. And so the ego is always about short-term solutions and short-term answers. So it's like, I was asked to do this, so I'm going to do this, and that means this. That means a paycheck, or that means success, or that means just I'm moving forward, whatever it could be in your life. I've had people say, well, I was really guided to ask this person out, and they said no, and I didn't know what to do, So it's a very common thing that happens to all of us. Or I was guided to leave my job and a new one hasn't appeared yet. Oh my God.
Yeah, and bills are coming due.
And bills are coming in and I'm freaking out. So I think we can collectively say, all of us listening, we've had some time in our lives where we feel guided to do something, we're moving towards something, and we feel a big fat no from the universe, and it sends us into a reaction mode. First of all, I want to say it's very, very normal for that to happen. And we don't want to stay there because there is always something higher going on. And I think that's a really hard awareness to hold on to, especially when we're in the feeling nature of it.
Right. And you feel like it's somebody's fault it didn't happen.
Right.
Like, well, why didn't I get that air? Was it politics? Was it?
Yeah.
Was it me? Was it my music? It wasn't up to scratch or whatever?
Right. Yeah. Well, what cosmic mistake did I make that I did not get chosen?
Who did I cut off in traffic that now God has removed his hand of blessing from my life?
Yes. Right.
Because I cussed out a driver.
Right. And so the universe, it's interesting because what looks like a no is actually just a delayed yes normally. But when it feels like a no, it could be a no, it could be a not yet, it could be a never, it could be a soon. So it's the ego is always attaching to what it thinks. And again, remember, the ego wants everything to be definite. It wants lines. It wants things linear. It wants things to be like I want them to be. And anytime you're saying I in your mind, you can know it's ego. Like, I don't know what happened. I wanted to get paid. I wanted my music out there. I'm not saying you said this.
No, you're
but any of us,
my truth.
but any of us, like that job I applied for. Why? They asked me to come out there. I did everything they said. I answered all the questions. As a matter of fact, I heard from somebody on the team. You said everything they wanted to hear, and they hired somebody else. Right. So in that situation, for me, what was interesting is that I learned later, about 6 months after that, the church just took a nosedive.
Oh, wow.
And so the decisions at the higher levels were really impacting, the health of the church. And so I was glad that I was spared, in that case, having to live through that, because I would have been the first one hired, and you know how that goes. I would have been the first one to go, and it's not cheap to move across the country. So I say that one in particular as an example because it was really grace from the universe that I didn't get it, but in the short term, it looked like a no. And so I think kind of bringing in the higher wisdom is what's required on this, kind of the higher thinking, the higher nature of us, to give us perspective. What looks like a no in the beginning, it could be a no, but it might just be a not yet. Yeah, it might just be a not yet.
I feel like now that, we're a couple of months out from it, I feel like some of it was walking through it to learn about myself,
Yep.
And realizing that I don't need that thing. I don't need that carrot.
Yeah.
I don't need that jewel in my crown or whatever. I don't need that to qualify, what success is.
Right. Well, and I also think, the Buddhist practice of non-attachment, it's like I do what's mine to do, and I do what's mine to do. I do what's mine to do, and then I chop wood, carry water. What do I do after enlightenment? Chop wood, carry water, but now you're just enlightened about it. So the idea of I do what's mine to do, no matter what the outcome is. So I think it's also really sourcing in what you know is yours to do, and then releasing it to the universe is a real kind of courageous way to live, because there's this it's really kind of a warrior aspect to like really give what's mine to give, and then when I'm complete, whether the universe responds in a way I want or not, I accept that and move on. And like you said, there was a learning for you. And here's the deal: you gave how many tracks did
It
you
was
make?
eight cues, yeah.
8 cues. You know what? It would not surprise me if you don't use those for something
Oh,
else.
and that's exactly what the publisher said. He's like, "Oh, these aren't wasted time. These are all being fed into golf, into
Right.
NCAA tournament, and all of that."
Right.
And as an artistic, creative person, and I have been since
Yeah.
fourth grade, it's not like I'm not used to.
Sometimes hearing,
Sometimes hearing no or not getting an
right.
audition. I remember in 6th grade, I tried out for the 6th grade play, and everybody said I was great, and I totally thought I got it, but then they gave it to somebody else. That's my earliest memory of dealing with creative. I don't want to say rejection because it's not
Right.
but auditioning for a part and not landing it. Things like actors and musicians,
Yeah.
they deal with the audition process and not getting parts and stuff all the time. So
Right.
that little 6th grade play was my earliest memory. So it's not
Yeah.
that I'm unfamiliar with that. What made the Super Bowl separate from me, besides the fact that it's the
Super Bowl. Mhm.
it was feeling like I was doing all of the work on my side and
Right.
feeling like I had gotten the download from the universe that this was a
Yes.
thing. I was manifesting it, prosperity, all of that, the secret, all of that business.
Right.
But then getting the hand in the face.
Yes. Well, and again, it's such an interesting, not really line, but it's an interesting, um, it's an interesting wave to ride when we are so busy creating and putting out all this energy, and it feels like a no from the universe. It does cause us to question. But that's not a bad thing, because when we start to question, okay, why am I doing this? What is this for? And then we can see, well, sometimes our ego does get attached. Who doesn't want to, quote, make it big? And so, but the making it big may not look like we think it's going to look. So one gig on the Super Bowl is great, but you might get 12 on the,
Right.
on
golf,
on
which
golf.
ultimately is going to pay more in the long run.
Exactly.
As far as royalties and all that. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I do think it's time well spent. And again, ultimately, the universe is always saying yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the universe is always saying yes. When it looks like a no and we feel like it's a no, it's almost always from the ego. Now, there are times I believe spirit kind of blocks us from things again, but that's in grace. That we're blocked because we're not supposed to experience it. If we experienced it, it would be detrimental to us, or it might send us in a direction of attachment to money, into things that we don't want or need. So there's all kinds of reasons we could have, and I rather think of it as a stop than a no.
Right.
It's kind of a stop and reflect and like, okay, maybe not this direction. And I want to talk a little bit more after the break, but I definitely want to mention it now, that what can happen that we want to be aware of if we feel like we're getting this answer over and over and over and over, but we keep doing the same thing. We also want to use that as a cue to look deeper at what our motivation might be for what we're doing.
Yeah, it would just be like, let's say you want to be a singer.
Yeah.
And you keep losing part after part after part after part, right? At some point, that requires self-reflection.
Correct.
To saying, okay, why am I getting this? Not, all of these casting directors, not all of them are tone deaf, right? So there could be something on my end that I can do to change the situation.
Yes. And we want to remember, friends, so the universe doesn't really say no. It might say not yet.
Yep.
It might say yes to something else. But remember that there's no power outside of you that's forcing it. It's your soul that's calling it forth because of the intelligence of your soul, that the universe is working in and through your very own life. And so as this no comes up, the no is always to serve your soul's highest good. So we want to remember that. So the universe might be saying stop, but it's probably not saying no, and we want to use that as a way to look deeper. So we want to talk more about this right after the break. So join us back here in just a few minutes.
We'll return to the program in just a few moments, but first, we wanted to give a special word of thanks to our podcast partner, CCU Orlando, who has helped make this episode of the Authentic Spiritual Journey possible. CCU Orlando is a welcoming community dedicated to transforming lives, celebrating diversity, and supporting soul growth. Christ Church Unity is located at 771 Holden Avenue in Orlando, Florida, with Sunday services at 9 and 11 a.m. You can stream services live online as well as learn more at christchurchunity.net. We'd also like to extend our thanks to our podcast partner, Akins Counseling Center. Cassandra Akins is a licensed mental health counselor dedicated to creating sacred space where clients can explore their own inner process in a safe, non-judgmental, and supportive environment. She works with individuals, couples, and groups who are seeking to live a more authentic life. Akins Counseling Center is located in Winter Park, Florida, and can be found on the web at CassandraAkins.com. And now we return you to this week's episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey.
Welcome back. We're glad you're with us today on When the Universe Says No. We had that title really as something to kind of tantalize your imagination.
Clickbait title.
Yeah, right. Because that's what it feels like when we're heading a certain direction and something doesn't happen like we think it's supposed to, which is ego. And so we think that something doesn't happen as supposed to. We say, why is the universe saying no? When in fact it can be a delayed yes. It can be a maybe not yet. It can be just a stop. Because in general, what I want you to hear me say is the universe doesn't really say no. And I'm repeating this on purpose because it might be a foreign concept. The universe is simply saying yes because we are, when our intention is clear, we're aligning with the universe. The universe can't help but say yes. But there is this pattern. It's like this, we each have, I talked a little bit about this 20 shows ago. I talked about your life plan. It's like this, each one of us in our own soul has this blueprint for our soul, for what our life is supposed to be about. And so it's the higher aspect of us. And our soul is always connected both to the here and now reality, which we think of as third dimensional, up, down, right, wrong, kind of reality, egoic reality. But our soul, in fact, is connected to eternity also. So our soul then is wiser, say, than our thinking mind. And so when things happen that we think are not supposed to be happening, the thinking mind goes, hey, wait a minute, I did this, therefore this should happen. But the soul of us is so intelligent that it is putting together pieces we can't see and having awarenesses that the mind cannot comprehend because the soul is timeless. So the soul that's guiding and directing you that might feel like a no or a maybe or a not yet is ultimately a yes. It's ultimately a yes. So is this making sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
So the piece we want to talk about a little bit, though, is if over and over and over you feel like you're getting a no in a certain area. This came up in the teaching of Dream Big, the material we did for the first couple of months of 2019. We did it through our ministry, and I think we did like a month on podcasts as well. And a lot of that class was about the first aspect is vision. It's like about getting a higher vision for your life and then setting goals and meeting those goals and such as that. So we did have a few people, and by the way, I just did that class in New York as well at Unity of New York, and people were really excited about it. But the question that always comes up is, what if I get a no? What does it mean? So it's a really, really common human question. If we're getting a repeated no, it could mean several things. It could mean we're out of touch with our bodies, and we could be getting a no because we need to rest, depending on what it is. It could be we are getting a stop or a no, what feels like a no, because we're really not supposed to be working in that area at this time. It's just not right for our soul to be doing it. It may be it's not right for us ever this lifetime. So sometimes we have desires that are in our hearts that might be leftovers. They might be not yets. And even though it's a desire, if the skill level isn't there, we have to really, like you were saying about, if you keep not getting parts or you keep getting fired, there's something you need to look at.
Right.
Right. So if you keep getting what feels like a no, there's definitely some internal work to be done.
Man, in high school, I was not, let's just say I wasn't the ladies' man that I am now. To the point where I had like maybe two girlfriends all through middle school and high school. It's not that I didn't want, a girlfriend. It's just, fat band nerd, whatever.
Are you saying I had more girlfriends than you did?
Yes, I'm absolutely saying that. And I was just like, why can't I have this? Why can't I have a relationship?
Yeah.
To the point where when I got to college, I was fed up and done with it.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm tired of the universe saying no. And because I was trying to, be a good Christian boy and, holding myself for marriage and all of that business, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But I had resigned myself into college to forget all that noise, and I'm just throw caution to the wind, and I'm just going to just date, whatever. And don't you know that the first person that I went on a date with after I had resigned myself to forget you, universe.
Oh, can I say what you're going to say right now? Shannon Croft.
It was Shannon.
Your wife.
That's right.
Gosh.
Because my my sisters growing up, I've talked about kind of there were some hellraisers, right?
Right.
And so I knew that, and I think the universe was protecting me from the way that I held women in high regard, and I never was interested in sleeping around and all of that stuff
right.
In high school. But it wasn't until I was like, again, forget this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to sow my oats or whatever.
I'm going to man up and just make it happen.
Yeah. Then the universe goes, and here's your wife. And we'll be celebrating 25 years in July.
Wow. Boy, that's quite a story.
Mm-hmm. I have no doubt that if I had girlfriends and stuff, I have no doubt I'd have a kid. I have no doubt that I would have been a teenage dad.
Right. So even though it felt like no's and
Mm-hmm.
and no early on, it was a tremendous yes from the universe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The thing that I think we all forget is how much God loves us.
Right. Yeah.
It's like I want our listeners just to like really take that in, that the universe really, really loves you and that has the best in mind for you. And so the trust that we can get to, it's like when you're living from a soul awareness that you are loved by the universe, God becomes your best friend. I believe that.
And just fall into that.
Yeah.
Just fall into it.
Yeah. It's like, wow, I know this feels like a no. My gosh, this is frustrating on the human level. And I know that God has the best in mind for me. I know that. And I also know I cannot force the universe. Right? The Cherokee have a saying, don't push the bear.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want something you have forced. You don't. And so it's like if we can just fall back into this awareness of God, that God loves us, that the universe itself is literally like, this is the word that comes to my mind, is literally like teeming with God energy. It's like full of this energy that we can't see, that what feels bad in the short term, if we can just trust that if it feels like a no, our yes is coming. I feel like that's what we want to say. If I feel like it's a no, my yes is coming. And actually, my yes is here. I just don't have eyes to see it yet.
Right. And yes might not look like what you want the yes to look like.
Yeah.
But it's going to be the best yes for you.
Yes. I mean, it's going to come from the highest spiritual place. And I'll tell you, my heart is really feeling still right now. So many of groups that feel outcast right now are immigrants that are feeling so bad, transgender people who are continually being marginalized, even the homeless that continue to now be the newest out group. I mean, there's violence against homeless we've never seen before. So it's like when I'm sitting here as a pretty affluent white person talking about this stuff, it's pretty easy to talk about. So I don't maybe get a job I want or something that I want. But if you are right now in this country, an immigrant, if you are a transgender, if you're homeless, and I would even include gay and lesbian in that to a degree, that you could really easily feel like a big no from the universe. But I just trust that the Spirit of God that's working in and through each one of us is a yes. And so it's like, we're so much about the individual spiritual journey here, and that is important, but there is also a collective thing going on. So I want to just make sure we're also thinking of and applying these principles as we're thinking of the collective, because sometimes the universe is waiting on us to act to bring a yes into somebody else's life. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I feel like I want to, even though it's all about the authentic spiritual journey for the individual, we also always want to connect back to the collective, and even our friends in the UK, I'm thinking of especially today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. With everything that's going on, and yeah.
Everything that's gone on. I mean, even the violence that we've seen too in other countries recently that have never seen violence, like we've seen here. There's got to be a feeling of fear. There's got to be a lot of sadness, and it's like the number one question anybody would be asking is, why is this happening? Why is this happening? And these things happen from people who are not acting from their souls. They are acting from tremendous ego, a lack of God consciousness. And so for those of us that are trying to wake up spiritually, it's like we want to keep bringing these principles into reality. And I honestly believe for each one of us, ultimately, the universe is saying yes. I honestly believe that. And so I just have a great, great trust that there's this new energy that's coming forth, and I see it all the time, even though I never hear about it on the news. I see it every single day, that the power of the human spirit to overcome, the power of the human spirit to revitalize, to renew, even to, at this time of Easter, resurrect, that we really want to trust that the universe has something good in store for us.
Yeah. And in my case with Shannon, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't understand it at the time, and it wasn't until I was 20 years old.
Right.
Having gone through, I think I had a total of 3 girlfriends in middle school and high school. Let's say 2.5.
And you were learning how to be right, and now you've met her. Yeah, that's a really incredible story, and I think pretty unusual. But you are such a person of integrity, and I know that your faith for so long has been so important to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's the only woman I've been with. And,
right. How cool is that?
I am very proud of that. I used to be not embarrassed of that, but
like kind of shy about it.
Yeah, very shy about it. But no, I'm very proud of that. And I'm glad that I was in a position to be able to receive that when the universe positioned Shannon into my life. And even when I took the date, she's 2 years older than me. I thought she was just some highfalutin junior, and I was a freshman in college.
She's a cougar.
Right. But even then, I took the date, like kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna go have fun. That's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna have fun.
Right, and you still do. I mean, one of the things if I were projecting onto what I think about your relationship, bless Shannon that she doesn't mind me doing stuff like this, and you too. But you guys seem like you do just have a lot of fun together. You're friends, as well as lovers and spouses, and that's I think that's so important, because I'm going to tell you, all the couples I've worked with over the years, eventually, all that wildness and sexuality and active sexuality of the younger years, as you get older, what matters is, are you friends?
All of that boils away.
It does.
Not because your libido or whatever, but it just boils away because you have to have the relationship. The core of the relationship has to be that you just like being in the same room together.
That's it.
It's why we've always been able to have jobs together. It's why we worked at Full Sail, we worked at American Express before, we both worked at the church.
Right.
And so that's what enables it, because we can sit around and laugh and talk Marvel movies and
exactly.
And she has her stuff and I have my stuff, so it's not that we're completely just codependent. I'd like to think we're not, but yeah, it's 25 years later, and I took.
And you're still having fun.
Yeah, we bought our tickets for the Marvel Avengers Endgame. We
Oh,
bought our
awesome.
tickets. We're going to like the 10 a.m. show or something.
Awesome. Awesome. So, yeah, we're saying all this, friends, because we really want to encourage you. I want to wrap up my story about the church too, because it was really interesting when I had applied for a church, because a friend of mine had called me out of the blue and that I'd worked with before and said, "Hey, there's going to be a position. Will you apply?" And I applied at the church, and flying there was all a big secret. I mean, like, even all the candidates were held at different hotels,
Oh, wow.
and we were an hour and a half apart, so we never could.
Like bump into each other.
Well, right. It was on purpose that we were at different hotels, so we would never bump into each other. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I did not get the job. So I really did some soul searching about that, and I thought, well, it's funny because I wasn't even looking anyway. Well, then, like a week later, I was home, and Unity Worldwide, I think it's biweekly, they send you emails of what jobs are open, around the country and around the world. And the way Unity works is you just apply for the job. Well, I was not looking, and I just happened to read through the postings because there was always other information about people taking new churches, and so it was just a way to keep up, with what was going on.
Sure.
And there was an ad in there for Christ Church Unity. And I remember reading it, and I said, I am supposed to go there.
Wow.
I said, the consciousness that wrote this is very special. This is a really special community. And then I looked at what it was paying. I said, oh, dear God, I'm going to take a 50% pay cut.
Wow.
And then I was like, who knows, whatever. And I could not get it off my mind. And I sent my resume, and there were 3 of us that applied. And of course, as they say, the rest is history. I got the job, and I've been at CCU now over 11 years.
11 years. Yeah.
It'll be 12 years in February. And every year I really count down because I just feel so honored to be there. And wow, the church is in a real upswing with a lot of positive energy. And so I'm so thrilled that the universe felt like the universe was saying no, but it was actually saying yes to me. And the no was from a church that, after I did not get the job, kind of took a nosedive, attendance-wise, money-wise, and could not have afforded to even pay me.
I'm trying to think if I should say this or not, because part of me feels really like a terrible person for feeling this, but I'll just go ahead and say it anyway, because this is authentic, right?
Yes.
In high school, I had a major crush on a French horn player that from another school.
French horn players, they always have good lips.
Right. She was a wonderful girl, wonderful, amazing girl, and had a huge crush on her. We went to like summer camp together, like band camp, even though we were in different schools and everything. And I never really was able to kind of either muster the courage, or it just never worked out.
Right.
That we could connect. And I was always really sad about that. But don't you know, again, this is just being authentic. Within a couple of months of my freshman year, she died.
Oh, my goodness.
She passed away.
Wow.
And I had a little bit of that survivor's guilt because I think how completely destroyed I would have been if I was in a relationship, and let's say we had been married 2 or 3 months and she passed away, right?
Wow.
And so I look at that, and I've always thought, was that the universe, God, whatever, was that a hand keeping me out of that relationship because that was coming down the pipe? And she didn't get in an accident or anything. She just got like ill. I think she had like a tumor she didn't know about, and she died tragically.
Wow.
At the age of like 19 or 20.
Wow.
So again, I've never shared that story. I'm not even sure if Shannon knows that story.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems relevant in the scheme, in the grand scheme of my story getting to Shannon.
Yeah. Well, I want to comment on that a little bit because this is going to be a packed next few minutes, because I'm really glad you shared that, because the soul has markers. The soul has like mileposts. The soul has windows of opportunity. The soul has these transition moments that are pretty significant, powerful, tremendous. They're life changing in the one regard. So that situation that you're describing, even though were not in relationship with her then, whenever that was a choice, that was huge soul stuff.
Mm.
And I can tell you still have not feelings for her, but I was going to say you have a great deal of respect and love for
Absolutely.
her, as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for whatever reason, this lifetime, your souls were not supposed to be together.
Mm.
She had a different blueprint than you. But the soul journey is about choosing well when we have those choice points. So they're transitions, they're road signs, they're guideposts, they're shining a light a certain way. But then the choice and the action is what makes the soul journey. So, as you said, how Shannon came into your life, when she did, you could have not chosen that.
Yeah, you're right.
But you saw that and were like, you know what? Yes, I'm going to have fun with her. And even when you said it, I felt like this soul choice there. And so I think none of us know with the mind how significant the soul journey is, but every single choice we make decides the next, 1 year, 5 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. That one choice can have tremendous, tremendous impact. And so I think, yes, with this friend, that was a huge soul choice. And I think your souls were there to bless each other, but you were not meant to be in the same play, for so long. And I'm using that word because we've used it in past shows, that the soul journey is very much like a play, that there are main characters, there are supporting actors, there are even cameo appearances. Like I can think of people that I've known for a month or a year, and then I never see them again. It's like, okay, well, they were in and they're out, and that's fine. Right. So, but all of these things that we're talking about today are tremendous in relation to the soul and the choices that we make. And so it's why that every time, this is called Authentic Spiritual Journey. We so often talk about the soul journey. That's really all we talk about. We talk about it because the soul is really the only thing that matters. And every choice that we make, we're trying to become more and more conscious so that we make each choice in the best interest of our souls. So you almost made a choice, with, sowing your wild oats, as you said. And it was like, okay, whatever. But in some way, there was kind of a release. And then the universe said, here you go. There was almost like an openness to receive something.
That's so true. Absolutely. Right? Because I had held up, in my good Wesleyan upbringing of what, dating is for, and it's
what it's supposed to look like.
Exactly. And it wasn't until I released all of that in the name of I'm having fun and I'm just mad that the universe has kept this from me. Right. But you're right. I was totally open to accept whatever the universe was going to put in front of me, whether she was, a junior or not. Right.
All right. So so if you're not driving, write this down. If you feel like the universe is saying no, it is time to surrender. Boom. Mic drop.
Don't drop that mic.
Okay.
Say that again.
If you feel the universe is saying no, it is time to surrender. Surrender doesn't mean I'm giving up. It means I'm going to stop. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to look inward. I'm going to see if there's a pattern. I might journal. I might seek a counselor or a minister to talk to, a therapist or a minister to talk to get some feedback on what seems to be happening. But surrender means I stop and I take stock of what's happening and see if something different is being asked of me. So if we feel the universe is saying no, time to surrender. Surrender is not negative. It does not mean giving up or giving in. It means I'm going to stop, I'm going to take note, and I'm going to see what my next steps are.
For me, it was releasing control.
That's it.
Is quit squeezing so hard onto this thing that I'm keeping the blessing from reaching me because my hands are so closed around something else.
Right. So I'm going to, if we were in a one-on-one in my office, I would say, okay, Dave, now with this Super Bowl thing, I don't know if you've done work around this, but it might be time because there may be something new wanting to come in and through that because this hasn't been 100% worked through, can't yet.
Mm.
Right. And so, so the surrender piece is, I forget, I'm making this up.
Sure.
The surrender piece is, I forgive the Super Bowl people who asked for music and then didn't use it. I forgive, myself for whatever I think I did wrong because I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to release that. And I'm going to just see what's next. It's almost like we just have to create space for a minute to see what new, wants to come forward for you.
That's good.
So I'm on your team. I'm on Team Dave.
I believe it.
Yeah, I believe it. I conceive it. So we're glad you're with us today, dear friend. And as always, we're happy to support you on the spiritual journey. It is called the Authentic Spiritual Journey, and we're always getting awarenesses from one another. And even my son is in the studio today, so that's really fun.
You want to say hi, Josh?
So thank you for joining us. Blessings on the journey. And remember, if it feels like the universe is saying no, remember to surrender. And remember, it could just be a delayed yes, but we want to take stock. We want to see what's happening and see what our next step may be. But first, we want to make space to see what might be ours to do. So blessings on the journey, dear friend. Thank you for joining us.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey, presented by CCU Orlando and Akins Counseling Center here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible through the continued support of our angel patrons Dove Borland, Angela Martinez, Peter Gibson, and Paul Caswell, along with our partner patrons CCU Orlando and Akins Counseling Center. If you would like to help be a part of bringing shows like this and other programs to the channel, please consider becoming a patron. For more information, episode show notes, and details about our other programs on the channel, head over to experienceofthesoul.com. And if you enjoyed this program, you can help spread the word by leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, or the podcast platform of your choice. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2019 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.